Donald Trump loves talking about what a great businessman he is, and conservatives generally love to stress that they have earned everything they have. They don't owe it to anyone, not the government, not their ancestors, nothing. And so it was interesting to see an analysis done originally by a National Journal reporter, S.V. Date, and added on to by Vox, that found out that his business acumen, his businesses he joined, he created, his investments, are not why he's rich. He could have just been rich based on the wealth of his father, our suspicion for a long time. So here's the first part of the analysis. In 1974, the real estate empire of Trump's father, Fred, was worth about $200 million. Trump is one of 5 siblings, making his stake at that time worth about $40 million. If someone were to invest $40 million in an S&P 500 index in August 1974, around when the money was transferred to him, reinvest all dividends, not cash out and have to pay capital gains, and pay nothing in investment fees, he'd wind up with about $3.4 billion come August 2015. If one factors in dividend taxes and a fee of 0.15%, the total only falls to $2.3 billion. So that's a large amount of money. Unfortunately for Trump, Bloomberg currently puts Trump's net worth at $2.9 billion, while Forbes puts it at $4 billion. So he's worth about as much as he would have been if he had taken the $40 million from his dad and thrown it into an index fund.
Now, the reason that it could easily be $3.4 billion, the higher end of that range, is because if Trump is such a great businessman, he wouldn't need Vanguard to invest his money for him, like a mutual fund or anything like that. He would just simply take his money and put it into the stock market, right?
Yeah.
And an index fund, meaning like as the stock market goes up, it goes up. As it goes down, it goes down. It's the simplest thing in the world.
It's literally like an average of the performance of stocks.
Right. And if you never took the money out, you'd never have to pay capital gains tax on it. I mean, so it's and when you take it out, you eventually pay the taxes. So that's why if you pay the dividend tax or the capital gains tax, depending on the situation, as you go along, your money will be less.
Yeah.
If you don't take it out, your money will be more. So, but even if you took the lower amount, that's kind of where he's at, right? And certainly right in the middle between the lower amount and the higher amount. And so this big, oh, I am a great investor, I am fantastic, right?
Yeah.
Turns out, not so much. You're exactly average. If he was being, honest, he'd come out and be like, I'm average.
Yeah.
My dad gave me a lot of money, and I took it, and I did something completely average with it.
Yeah. Hey, but look, maybe he could run on that. Maybe he can make hats, making America average again.
Yeah.
And look, to his credit, he could have lost everything, I guess. That would have been worse than simply putting the money in and investing. And he didn't do that, I guess. But it's actually, if you analyze the numbers in a couple of different ways, it actually makes him look even worse. I mean, it's one thing to look at his entire history as a businessman and judge that, in which case you see him as, at best, very average. But if you were to look at just the past couple of decades, what he's done in everyone who's watching this is sort of living memory of what he's been as an individual and as a businessman. If he had stopped with his actual business in 1982, when he was worth about $200 million, and then started just investing that, get out of all the business and just invest the $200 million, if he did that, if he had stopped 33 years ago, he would be worth about $6.3 billion. If instead he'd kept going until 1988 and then stopped, and then just invested it, stopped with all the business, all the real estate, all that, he'd be worth $11.3 billion, again after fees and dividend taxes. And so regardless of maybe early on he made some good deals or whatever to make it from $40 million to $200 million, probably using the business contacts of his father again, let's be real, he could have done so much better if he had given up decades ago and just left it to the stock market. He could be worth 2, 3, maybe 4 times as much as he's actually worth now.
So look, it's a little fishy to take it after the market goes down and you say, okay, let's start after the market starts going up in 82 or in 88, and so that gives him the bigger amount. So I get that. But at the same time,
well, but all those other stocks started doing better. He did not.
Right.
Which means that he has been underperforming for decades.
Right. But if he had real great business sense, he would say, okay, the market's slow. I'm going to come in now, right? And I'm going to do better. And a lot of you did go into the market when you were, or your retirement packages did in 82 and 88. And if you were in the market through those times, you on average did much better than Donald Trump did.
Yeah.
Now, the difference is you didn't start with $40 million.
Yes.
So if you had started with $40 million and all you did was put it into an index fund, as a lot of your 401ks do, you would have done much, much better than Donald Trump. See, and that really goes to the essence of what's wrong with the conservative ideology. So these guys come around and thump their chest and go, oh, I'm going to throw bootstraps at you. Why don't you pick yourself up by the bootstraps? And I'm a self-made man, and you could do like me, and if you were just as good as me and all this. No. Yeah, I could be just as good as you if my daddy left me $40 million.
Yeah.